Let's see. So body weight squat to object, right? So this is exactly what I was talking about with the lunge thing. This is very comforting for people. Like, actually we saw it with you when we deadlift. When I asked her to body weight squat with nothing behind her, she had a really hard time getting her hips down. But the second I gave her the confidence that there was something behind her, your body immediately is like, oh, I know there's something there, so if I can't get back up, it's okay. So I almost 99% of the time, I mean, I'll ask someone, hey, can you squat comfortably to a depth that doesn't like make you insecure? You'll see it on their face, right? And they'll be like, oh, no, let me just give you a box. Any hesitation, I'm giving them a box, okay? So what I'm gonna say to them is, hey, I want you to stand about hip width apart. I'm not saying that that's how you have to stand because everyone's squat's gonna feel different, and I wanna find what squat works best for you, but we're gonna have to figure that over time, okay? I want you to think about widening your toes, and usually what I have them do is take their shoes off so that they can feel the ground. You're gonna go wide toes, I want you to push down, and I want you to create a little bit of an arch on your foot, so almost like there's a fire under there and you don't wanna touch the fire, right? You don't wanna burn your foot. That's gonna make you feel really connected to the ground, right? Now what I want you to do is hands down in front of you so you feel stiffness, right? I'm kind of reaching down, okay? I'm gonna have you drive your hips back. I want you to find the object, and when you find that object, I want you to try to squeeze your butt and push through your feet to come back up, right? So it's gonna look like this. I'm gonna inhale, find the box, squeeze my butt, drive back up, and I really want you to feel that lockout in your hips at the top. The biggest issue with a lockout on the top is that people go into hyperextension of their low back. It's not a drive through my whole body. All it is push the ground, squeeze my butt, feel my hips come into full lockout. Teaching someone to use their butt when they squat is life-changing for people because all people use is their quads. They think quads, their quads naturally do it for them. Once you get them using their butt, their knees feel totally different. Their knees aren't feeling destroyed anymore. Height's gonna be huge, right? I'm always gonna start with my 16, then I'm gonna go to my 14. Some people won't even ever make it to a 12. It's the same thing we were talking about with the skater lunge. Okay, let's say, all right, now you're doing great, right? You're getting here, okay, awesome. Now I'm gonna go down here, okay, awesome, you can squat all the way there. Okay, now I wanna load you. What do I now have to do if I'm gonna load them? What do I have to do with my box? Too many progressions at once. I'm adding weight. Exactly. If I'm adding weight, I'm gonna now, and it might only be one set, but if I'm gonna hand them a dumbbell for the first time, I'm gonna now increase their box again. Okay, now go back to a 16-inch box. You see what I'm doing? I'm putting something in and taking something away. Putting something in, taking away constantly. I'm never gonna, okay, I now want you to squat to depth. Now I want you to now I want you to hold a weight and you have nothing behind you, right? Then there's like, oh shit, there's a lot going on here. Okay, if of course I already have the person not using a box, then I'm not gonna add a box. Why would I do that? But if I'm in the process of using a box with someone, that's the progression that I would use back and forth like that. Does that make sense? Yeah? If you're having a program that, let's say it has a box squat, a chest press, and a bent over row, so I know I need a bench, am I also getting a box? Or if I'm just using my bench, if it's the right height, I'm just using my bench. Why would I go and get more things for me to have to carry around? If it's around a 16-inch, the bench is 18, I'm gonna stay right there, yeah. TRX loaded squat, TRX loaded squat. So, come on. Loaded means that I'm loading my arms so that just like the rack assisted lunge, so that my legs don't have to do everything. Okay, so I'm gonna start with a slack in my band, okay, so you can kind of feel when your arms are loaded. Now, you might use a box behind too, like depending on the person, right? If I'm just trying to mobilize their knees and I feel like they're capable of doing it, I'm gonna let them drop down and then, okay, now use your arms to pull you up. So now I'm taking the weight off of their legs. This works really well with really obese people because there's no way that person's gonna ever be, well, until they lose weight, their joints aren't gonna enjoy that feeling of going all the way down and coming back up. But if I can get them to do it with a little bit less weight on their body, meaning the straps, I'm now helping to increase mobility, I'm demanding caloric use, things like that. Does that make sense? So
you're telling them like use your arms to help pull yourself?
That's loaded, exactly. Unloaded is no arm use, yeah. You're still holding the straps for stability with the unloaded TRX squat, but now it's just a support versus a crutch. The first version is a crutch. Wall sit, I think we all know wall sits. When you're coaching a wall sit, I see two big mistakes with coaching wall sits is not driving through both wall and floor. You need to drive back and down, so you're creating tension in both directions. And then number two is people don't get into a 90 degree, which of course, if the person has knee pain, you might end up be at a 45, right? That just might be where we are. But if let's say this person's healthy and you're just doing a normal wall sit, they should be really working on getting that hip to 90, sitting all the way down, pressing through their lumbar, pressing through their shoulders, pressing through their feet. Of course, if I have someone with knee pain, I might be up here, but.
You have the knees above the ankles, like your feet are out in front of you.
Yes, exactly, Band assisted squat. We use this a lot for people with knee pain as well, and we use this a lot for jumping with people with knee pain. Once again, the band is going to absorb my weight, right? So our client Alex has a lot of joint pain. It's a great way to get her comfortable squatting because let's say, you know, this band is 60 pounds, I weigh 150, the tension on it pull down and I start squatting, it's now unloading my weight from me. And I'm able to do the movement, but I'm not as heavy, so I'm unloading my joints. When you're coaching them, you always come grab high and pull down to your chest. I turn around, this is what people are doing. Load your arms on. If my arms are up in the sky, I'm probably losing a lot of my squat technique like that anyways. The foot drive is the same on a deadlift or a lunge, right? Tripoding, really thinking about pushing the ground away from you. Obviously the resistance of the band is huge, and I think as you start definitely try to get into some more classes here, start using all the different bands because the resistance on them is so different that like I now know exactly what I want to give a person, but like you have no idea what this feels like, so it's good to practice with it a lot. Because like you not weighing that much, you probably don't need this much. I might give you a blue because I know if I give you a green, you're gonna feel like super bouncy. Versus like Brett weighing a lot more, I might give him an orange because I really want him to feel comfortable loading and not feeling like the band's not supporting him at all. Body weight squat to depth, no object, right? Kind of already went over that one, right? Feel okay with that? Yeah. Foot grip, pelvic tuck. I'm really teaching them drive off the floor, exhale as they push. I'll use a PVC as a counterbalance with stuff like this if someone's not comfortable, like just having their arms. Having a PVC ahead of you and squatting can make someone feel really secure with dropping their hips. Like with your hip structure, I would use that. Someone like that for sure. PVC overhead squat. Why is a overhead squat harder than an in-front squat?
Your chest wants to fall forward.
But why does my chest want to fall forward? Are you NASM?
I know.
This is so NASM.
I know.
Corrective exercise patterns. So when I'm squatting, what muscle is going into extreme extension? What muscle? Your what?
Your lats. The lats? No.
Your lats. You're not wrong though. You're not wrong. But we're talking about your back, but you're not wrong. You're right. So your lats are forced into extension when you're squatting. So if I'm squatting like this, right, my lats are fine. They're along for the ride. They're good. They're in flexion. If I'm here, now I'm putting my lats in extension already. Now I'm going to demand even more from them when I squat. So if someone has tight lats and I ask them to squat, the natural compensation of the body is to go like this to allow me to get down without putting the tension on my lats. So now, right, I basically say to people, I want you to imagine this bar is really heavy. Because if the bar is really heavy, they're not going to want to let it fall forward, right? If it's light, they don't care. The bar weighs 50 pounds, right? I'm pulling laterally on either side of the bar, almost like I'm trying to unsheath a sword. When I do that laterally, I feel my tricep and my lat turn on, which is going to stabilize my spine better. So never a bent elbow, right? The wider my arms, the easier it is for someone with tight shoulders. I want to see a straight line as I go down. I want to see my bones stacked from my wrist to my shoulder to my hip to my ankle. So if you're watching me from this way, it should look straight up and down like that, yeah? So brace the core, inhale as I go down, drive up through my glutes, push away. You're naturally gonna see people go into lower back extension like this because they're trying to fight that tension. So a lot of people are gonna go, I don't have these issues, but this is what most people are gonna do. They're gonna go like that to get there first. You want them like this. Probably not gonna happen, but that lower back extension is better than them falling forward, because at least they're stretching. Stability ball squat on wall. Can we picture that? So it's this, why does that keep, oh. It's the same setup as a wall sit. The cue I use a lot on this exercise is I want you to feel like if I were to push the ball, right? So when I'm demonstrating, I'll go like this. I want you to feel like if I were to take my hand and slap the ball out, you're gonna fall down. That's how much of your weight you have on the ball behind you. Because otherwise, what people do, they're fearful. They don't load the ball enough. They're kind of standing up straight. So that's why you coach it the same as a wall sit. Walk forward to the point that you are not safe anymore if that ball's gone, right? Feet are dug in. I'm gonna tuck my pelvis. I'm gonna have it right below the ball. The end of the ball is touching my tush, right? That's how low the ball is. It's not up here, because if it's up here and I squat, it's gonna hit me in the head, right? So positioning is important, lower than you think. I'm driving back into the ball, and then on my way up, I'm squeezing my butt and walking out my quads at the top, being really intentional about muscle use here, because they don't have that much other things to think about, right? It's a really supported exercise, excuse me. Once people get going on it, they tend to feel really safe. We load this exercise, so we'll goblet load it, we'll deadlift load it, we'll single side load it, things like that. It's a great exercise to use for deadlifting on someone that can't traditional deadlift because of hip like hinging. People with back pain aren't gonna love doing movements like this, but you put them against there, they're more stable, they can deadlift more erect. Varying foot positions, right? We already know sumo. Narrow, right? You'll see this a lot in our warm-ups. People's warm-ups will have like a 5 by 5 of squats. So 5 narrow, 5 normal, 5 wide, and you're repeating back through. Just once again, like variation on the joint, getting them comfortable in different positions. You know, you should always be changing the way you move your body to ensure you're staying lubricated in all different ways. Rack assisted squat we use a lot, especially if someone's warming up. So like if I have back squats in someone's program and I know they're prone to tight knees or ankles, I'm gonna let them grab on, really hold on, really sit down, kind of move around in their joint a little bit. Or I'm using it for someone like my new client, Carol, who's really unsure of squatting, really uncomfortable. I'm gonna tell Carol, hey, grab onto that rack with all the weight you want to. I don't care how much of your upper body you use, but I want you to try to get as low as you can. Okay, so she's gonna go, she's gonna go. All right, Carol.
There was once a day that I would pray for you. I'd go and misbehave just so you'd notice too. Sneaking looks up and down from across the room. And damn, what a hell of a view. I feel good, you look great, I like you, I can't wait. A first time, a first date, you're so fine, I'm so late. You sip wine, I drink straight. Don't waste time to my place. I feel my heart erase. So catch me if I fall. I'm falling fast, sitting here praying that this night's gonna last. You got it all on tap, I'm loving your vibe, always have your back. We like all the same tracks, listen all night in the sheets all black. Said I'm falling fast, don't remember life before you, that's facts. I feel good, you look great, I like you, I can't wait. A first time, a first date, you're so fine, I'm so late. You sip wine, I drink straight. Don't waste time to my place. I feel my heart erase. So catch me if I fall.
that's weakness in the hip. So what you're gonna coach the person through is, hey, I want you to sit like there's nails on it, right? You wanna be very careful about the way you sit, and that's gonna help strengthen their hips because they're gonna be forced to go slower. So there's a difference between squat to object and sit to stand, right? Does that make sense? Yeah, okay. Goblet squat, talk me through goblet squat cues. If with a dumbbell, but it's a dumbbell. How am I holding a dumbbell? Am I keeping it against me? Am I pushing it away? Are my elbows flared? Are my elbows tucked?
Elbows tucked, weight close to you.
Right, those are really important cues because which you'll see this with people with tight shoulders or tight biceps, when they go down, they push it away because they don't have the mobility to keep it close to them. So those are the people you have to be able to see through that issue because they don't know that that's the issue. But if you're coaching them over and over again, hey, keep the dumbbell close, keep the dumbbell close, and they're not changing anything, it's probably because they can't. That's where I'm gonna change the object altogether. Hey, I need you to keep this close to you, so maybe I'm gonna give you a kettlebell that you can grab the horns on better, or I'm gonna give you a ball that's the same height, something, or I'm gonna, hey, let's take a second and stretch out your biceps and shoulders, because there's obviously something stopping you from being tight to your own body. I always coach a lot of core on a goblet squat. Hey, the second I load you more on core, more front loaded, the more your core is responsible for the movement. Front-loaded movements are always going to be easier than back-loaded movements. God, this music is just jamming today.
I know.
Okay, stag stance squat to object. Stag stance squat to object. So, remember stag stance deadlift? Okay, so it's the complete opposite. So if my deadlift stance was toe back, my squat stance is heel forward. Toe back, heel forward. Same lack of load though, right? So now my right leg in the stag stance squats is just my stability, but it's not loaded at all. I'm now gonna really focus on left, find my object, squeeze my glutes, stand up. Okay, I have about 20% of my weight on my right, but my left is there. It's a lot of hip demand. Most people are gonna need a bench or higher to do a movement like this. You're gonna have very few people that can just like drop it like it's hot in a stag stance because it's so much demand on the hips. But a really great way to progress single leg movement and to strengthen the hips. You can also change it to a sit to stand, right? Stag stance. Now I'm just really focused, and I always say, hey, you feel your left side more, right? Like getting them to be more internal about it. I like that, we like that a lot. We'll load that too, so that's goblet style, deadlift, we do all different loads with those foot stances. I'll be there. Suitcase squat to object. So, what is a suitcase squat? It's a deadlift. It's a deadlift. The difference is that you're gonna allow them to sit down. So some people that have really bad balance, we have a guy with Parkinson's, he's come a long way, but like his balance is really struggles with the balance. So because I want him to be successful, I'm gonna give him external cues, or external tools, the object, right? So if I'm having him here, okay, John, I just want you to sit all the way down with your lat engaged and come back up. So it's technically a squat pattern deadlift, right? Because the weight's lower, but it's a squat pattern because of the way I'm set up. Heel elevated squat, if not problem with ankle, is to emphasize quad loading, right? So there's multiple reasons to use the heel elevation. Number one is the most obvious, lack of ankle mobility, right? That's where you're gonna see it the most with general pop. Number two is gonna be tightness in hips and low back. If I have someone with really tight low back, the second I elevate their heels, they're gonna be able to get deeper into the squat, which is now gaining space in their low back and hamstrings. So I'm creating more mobility for them by elevating their heels. It's also, if I have someone with pain in their hips, once again, I'm unloading the hip complex, so now I'm loading the knee joint more. So I'm gonna feel my knees more, but I'm gonna feel my hips less. So it's a give and take situation for sure in regards to that reason for it. I'm also gonna load my quads a lot more. So if I have a client that's really, wanting to get massive quads, elevating their heels will do that for them. Banded squat, Spanish, can anyone picture it? Huh? Oh, I don't know, did I jump again? Okay, so heels elevated, loaded. Oh, sorry, suitcase squat to depth, heels elevated, loaded. So basically that means is, right? Wait. Goblet squat to depth we're good with, right? Okay, stag stance squat to depth is just what I did with the object, but with no box behind me. That's the one I think you won't see a lot with people, that's hard. Suitcase squat to depth. No object, exactly. Exactly, they're just, exactly. And then heels elevated loaded. So instead of just heels elevated squat, now I'm goblet, now I'm med ball, now I'm kettlebell, whatever the load is, right? Whatever the external load is, but now my heels are elevated, whether the reason be because they have tight ankles or they're trying to load their quads more or they have pain in their hips or you're trying to mobilize their lower back. Lots of reasons why you might. Okay, so now banded squats, right? Am I right? Are we all together now? Okay, I feel better. Okay. So now, okay. That's why you must do single arm hanging for that need and that just job. Okay, so banded Spanish squats, right? So instead of looping the band like we did for the lunge, we're gonna keep both open because I have 2 legs to squat with. So as the coach, I'm always gonna help them put their leg in the first couple times because otherwise I'm literally wasting 37 minutes of their 1-hour training session watching them get into a fucking band. So we're not gonna do that. Remember, it's slightly below the joint for a Spanish squat. Okay, I'm gonna step back till I feel some good tension on the band. What you're gonna see is this. This is what happens to people is they let their heels come off the ground. Really strong heel drive, that's rule number 1. You can't let your heels come off the ground. Number 2, you're more than welcome to push your hands into the rack to feel more stable. Okay, some people, they feel really unbalanced with a band. So hey, go ahead, hold the rack, whatever feels good to you. I want you to sit back into a squat, into 90 degree. Feel how the band is relaxing on your leg now. Now what I want you to do is drive your heel, squeeze your quad until your leg is fully locked out on the top, right? Inhale down, squeeze butt, drive leg, fully lock out that band. Now you just keep going until your quad muscle falls out of your leg, because that's what's gonna happen. It's a really high demand on the quad muscle, but once again, it stabilizes the knee joint. Anytime someone has knee pain, that's your exercise. I've never ever had anyone maintain knee pain once I do put the band in, because it's pulling the joints. Takes away the grinding of the knee joint and really loads the quad muscle. It's great for anyone with knee pain, but also great for building muscle in the leg. Zercher squat to box. Anyone know what a Zercher is? Zercher? So this is where, actually, usually chest height barbell chest press height for Zercher height. They're the same height for most people. Does that make sense? So your barbell chest height is usually a 9. Your Zercher height is gonna be a 9 as well. Unless the person's abnormally short, but. So Zercher is a precursor to a bar. It's the first barbell to lift you'll teach someone usually, and most people hate it. We actually have specific pads.
It's the one where you hold it like this, like your arms out.
Yeah. Zercher, yeah. We actually have specific pads for it because so many people hate the way it feels on their arms. They're very expensive. Yeah, of course. So that way I'm at least taking away that sensation of discomfort for them, so they're more likely to at least give it a try. Not always, but most people will. Okay, so this is Zercher to object. Okay, so remember guys, when you're using a bar, I always wanna make sure you're centered on it. So make sure you find your center, right? I'm gonna have you walk forward and get under the bar with your legs, not with your back. Not like this, okay? I'm gonna keep the bar as close to me as I can once it's off the rack. So I'm pulling in with my bicep. I'm never gonna push the bar away from me. And you'll see people do that when they start to go down. They wanna push the bar forward to help them counterload, okay? Big deep breath, grip the floor. There's a box behind you, so don't feel uncomfortable about where you go, right? Find your box, squeeze your butt, exhale as you come up. Bar stays really close to you. When you're done, walk forward and remember to put it down with your legs, not with your spine, okay? People tend to be able to get pretty low on a Zercher because of the load positioning. Good? Questions?
You said that you're getting sweaty under the bar.
Yeah, meaning I don't want people to lift it like this. I want people to walk under it almost. It almost feels awkward, but that way when they squat down, they're loading their legs and they're not loading their low back when they lean in to get it, yeah? Anyone? No? Zombie squat. You know what a zombie is? What kind of front squat? That's not, I mean, that's a front squat, but a zombie is a specific type of front squat. Yeah. So, why do you think it exists? And why is it it's not like a lift you would do forever, it's a lift to learn how to front squat. When you front squat, what do you think the biggest compensation is in a front squat? What happens?
You lean forward.
What happens to the elbows? You were on the right path. They fall, right?
Oh, yeah.
So what people don't understand is that they're like, the bar is sliding. I'm like, the bar's not sliding. It's your position. No, my shoulders are sweaty. It's the bar. No. If you keep your arms up, let's think about gravity here. If your arms are up, the bar cannot go anywhere. So what happens is because of mobility or lack of tension, they're dropping their elbow. So a zombie teaches them the stability they need. And what I always do is roll my sleeves up so that they can see you need to find this cap in your shoulder joint to be able to hold the bar. I'm not holding the bar in my bicep, I'm holding it above my deltoid, right between my clavicle and my actual muscle. So what I have them do is find your center of your bar, right? Roll your sleeves up. I want you to nice stiff arm. I want you to walk forward and I want you to lift the bar, okay? Now, if that bar is not in that little crease, it's not gonna stay there. It's gonna roll down my bicep, right? So I jolt it around a couple times, see if it goes anywhere. Okay, I'm definitely in that little notch that I need to be in. So that way when they start squatting, they're gonna immediately, hey, if they get here, whoop, 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 right? They know that they've let their arms go. That's a zombie. Zombies as well as front squats, people tend to come on their toes. They don't bend their hips and they come on their toes. I think it's a fear thing that the bar's gonna drop, so they go like this. Right? So for someone that maybe doesn't normally use a box, when they learn to front squat, using a box can be really helpful because it's like, okay, once again, it's just that safety of there's something behind you, even though that person really probably doesn't need it. It's just getting them into that pattern real quick. I also use a light bar a lot to teach front squatting. I don't use a 35, I'll use one of the yellow bars, the 15 pounders, just so they can, because the other issue is bruising, right? I'm always bruised after a front squat, not visibly, but internally I can feel tenderness. So I would like that to be the least amount in the beginning for someone so they're at least motivated to try it again. A lot of people hate front squatting because it crushes your neck, especially as the bar gets heavier. They're like, I can't breathe and you want me to do a squat? And I'm like, oh, it's basically a front squat, yeah. Like, so it's definitely a preference, right? If I have front squatting in someone's program, and let's say I've been standing there for 10 minutes trying to coach them through a front squat, I'm moving on. I'm not spending their whole session trying to teach them a front squat. Maybe it's just not the movement for them. Maybe I'm gonna regress it a little bit and go back to a goblet for the day. Hey, let's go a heavy goblet. It's the same loading position, same pattern, it's just different arm position. Because I don't want that person leaving the training session feeling frustrated or like they didn't get anything out of it. So I am, as the coach, need to know, hey, this is not working, I'm gonna switch it. But zombie's a great place to start with someone. Usually you can see right away in a zombie if they're gonna be decent at front squatting. Most people are built either for front squatting or back squatting. I am a much better front squatter than I'm a back squatter because I have really long femurs. If short people are good at most things when it comes to lifting, but some people, you're just naturally gonna feel better at certain movements. Like you're definitely better at front squatting than back squatting because of your ankles. Yeah, you should be. You do?
Uh-huh.
There you go, see, right? I prefer back squatting, but my body likes front squatting. Like I can feel the tension better and I feel a lot more back instability when I back squat versus front squatting. I feel like locked in. But once again, okay, so zombie to box, right? Varying foot positions loaded. So varying foot positions, where am I?
Yeah, you're right.
I am?
Yeah.
No, yeah, I am, okay. But didn't I already go over this? I must have jumped around earlier then, because I did already went over it, remember? I did.
Foot position's
Yeah.
not loaded.
Okay, so loaded, different tools, right? Goblet dumbbell is always going to be your easiest. Med ball, kettlebell, a little more complex. Once again, people with grip issues. Goblet, people with pain here hate goblet. So you know you're not gonna like, it's good to learn that about people so you're not continually making the same mistake over and over again, because then that's proving to them that you're not listening. Okay, so banded squat, the Spanish squat we did, we load a lot goblet style. So the setup with a band behind my knees, that's easy to progress. You either progress it by loading them, front loading them, right? Or adding a heavier band.
So you do it by a goblet.
Yeah, goblet. I mean, once again, there's nothing wrong with any other style of load there. Some people, like, let's say I have back pain, they might feel better loaded deadlift style. There's no reason why you can't deadlift load that. Yeah. Still a squat pattern, you're just loading it differently. But I really need to keep it together. Front squat to box, is that where I am? Right, I think, yep, banded squats loaded. Front squat to box? Yeah. Okay, last one. I almost made it through squats. Squats is like one of the biggest ones too. Okay, front squat to box, right? So we kind of already went over a little bit. We talked about it earlier, right? Easiest position is going to be here and here, but I'm still starting with this idea. So let's say the program says front squat, and you're like, hey, have you ever front squatted before, just because you don't know? And they're like, oh no, never. And you're like, oh shit, like I'm gonna go zombie first so that I know you're going to this confident. Once again, the more you regress something, the more places you have to go. If you always start with the advanced exercise, you're limiting yourself a lot. Obviously, if it's in the programming at this gym, we're pretty confident we know they've already front squatted before. And it might actually say in our programming, we'll literally write in capitals, teach. Because if the programmer knows they've never done it, they're gonna communicate with the coach, hey, teach this. Because other exercises, like for example, like, I'm trying to think. Some of our more advanced clients, which you can just watch and know they're more advanced, I'm not gonna walk them step by step through a push-up, right? Why am I wasting my time? Hey, you know push-ups, get to 10, make sure you stay tight, I'll be right back, or whatever. This is different in the sense like, hey, I'm gonna break down everything because it says teach on it. Yeah. Okay, so remember those zombies we learned, right? Okay, I need you to remember that spot you found in your shoulder, but now the stance is gonna be a little bit different, okay? You have pretty mobile shoulders, so I'm gonna teach you the more advanced form of front squat, okay? So you're gonna take your fingers, you're gonna find shoulder width, okay? Remember, you need room for your shoulders, so I'm gonna go slightly wider with my fingers so I can get my shoulders up under there, okay? Now, bar is pressed against my J-hooks. I'm gonna drive my shoulders, my elbows up to the sky, and now I'm gonna lift the bar by stepping back, loading my legs again, not lifting with my upper body, okay? A lot on front squatting. Remember, when you're talking about knees caving, you're not diagnosing the knee cave, you're trying to diagnose what actually is causing the knee cave. To sound smarter than you are. Guys, no one caught my joke. Damn. I'm making jokes on myself.
Busy writing.
Okay, back squat to box. I mean, we'll stop right here, but like back squat to box is exactly what you're talking about with lunges. It's just tension on the bar, being stiff. I think that's the hardest thing for people to understand with lifting is stiffness. If you can teach stiffness, you're golden. Newer lifters, especially older newer lifters, are hard to teach stiffness to. Anyone with history in Pilates, gymnastics, solid tension people. But if you can find different ways of expressing that to people, it will make you a much better coach.